President Trump's tariffs against Canada will now be put on hold for at least 30 days.
A $1.3 billion border plan where they talk about reinforcing the border. I should note that's actually something that Trudeau announced and Canada announced back in December, about mid-December.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
So before I get to the impending trade war, you know one thing I was thinking about? Not a single soul in America thought before this sycophant took office for round two was Canada has been abusive to the United States. Canada, the country and people literally known at times to their own detriment for being too nice. And yet here we are.
Well, Canada's been very abusive of the United States for many years.
From the beaches of Normandy to the mountains of the Korean Peninsula. During the Iranian hostage crisis, those 444 days we worked around the clock from our embassy to get your innocent compatriots home. During the day the world stood still, September 11th, 2001, when we provided refuge to stranded passengers and planes, we were always there. President Trump wants to usher in a new golden age for the United States. The better path is to partner with Canada, not to punish us.
After US President Donald Trump announced 25% tariffs on most of Canada's goods on Saturday, Canadians cancelled trips south of the border, boycotted US alcohol and other products, and even booed during the US national anthem at a sporting event. Meanwhile, Trump decided to pause his new 25% tariffs.
He had a good call with Trump. He said that Canada is going to be implementing a $1.3 billion border plan where they talk about reinforcing the border. I should note that's actually something that Trudeau announced and Canada announced back in December, about mid-December. But also in this announcement, Jake, he says that they are going to have frontline personnel working and protecting the border after concerns about fentanyl coming across. And he said that they are going to be appointing a fentanyl czar and that they will list cartels as terrorists and ensure 24/7 eyes on the border. I believe it is the fentanyl czar that is new here, but it's that last sentence, Jake, there at the end is the most important here. He says, proposed tariffs will be paused for at least 30 days while we work together.
On goods imported from Mexico for a month after the country's president agreed to send 10,000 soldiers to the US border. Now, if you're still on the hill site known as X, you'll find Trump supporters using this as a means to justify the economic turmoil and pain that they're all warning Americans to prepare for.
Tariffs against our allies.
It will drive the cost of everything up. In other words, it'll be paid for by American consumers. I mean, why would you want to get in a fight with your allies over this?
And the fact is, a deal almost exactly like this was agreed upon during the Biden administration without the chaos and economic warfare. And anyone reporting on this agreement without highlighting this is being woefully disingenuous.
Also, release the lumber here. Do you think on some level he's saying, I want to build up the middle class again by making the cars, doing the lumber here?
What happens when Canada puts on retaliatory tariffs against things made in states that Trump cares about? And by the way,
let's see if they do that by the end of the year.
They will, but by the way,
let's see if that happens.
Mexico sent 10,000 troops to the border in 2021 when Joe Biden was president. So it doesn't take the stock market tanking and threats of a tariff war to get Mexico to respond.
But aside from that, in the wake of Trump accusing Canada of being abusive to their closest ally pre-Trump, I wanted to show you this speech from Justin Trudeau that somewhat runs contrary to what Trump would have Americans believe.
From the beaches of Normandy to the mountains of the Korean Peninsula, from the fields of Flanders to the streets of Kandahar, we have fought and died alongside you. During your darkest hours, during the Iranian hostage crisis, those 444 days we worked around the clock from our embassy to get your innocent compatriots home. During the summer of 2005, when Hurricane Katrina ravaged your great city of New Orleans, or mere weeks ago, when we sent water bombers to tackle the wildfires in California. During the day the world stood still, September 11th, 2001, when we provided refuge to stranded passengers and planes, we were always there. standing with you, grieving with you, the American people. Together, we've built the most successful economic, military, and security partnership the world has ever seen. A relationship that has been the envy of the world. Yes, we've had our differences in the past, but we've always found a way to get past them. As I've said before, if President Trump wants to usher in a new golden age for the United States, the better path is to partner with Canada, not to punish us. Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods. This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives. Like the American tariffs, our response will also be far-reaching and include everyday items such as American beer, wine, and bourbon, fruits and fruit juices, including orange juice, along with vegetables, perfume, clothing, and shoes. It'll include major consumer products like household appliances, furniture, and sports equipment, and materials like lumber and plastics, along with much, much more. And as part of our response, we are considering, with the provinces and territories, several non-tariff measures, including some relating to critical minerals, energy, procurement, and other partnerships. We will stand strong for Canada. We will stand strong to ensure our countries continue to be the best neighbors in the world.
And this comes as Trump's tariffs were met with staunch pushback from not just Democrats, but the Wall Street Journal.
Related to the market reaction and a criticism from Mr. Murdoch's own newspaper. He called it the dumbest trade war on the editorial page on Saturday.
I'm going to have to talk to him. I've been right over the Wall Street Journal many times.
And many fellow Republicans.
But in general, tariffs are a tax. When you tax something, you get less of it. So we'll probably get fewer imports, but then with retaliation, fewer exports. Smoot-Hawley was not a particularly successful round of tariffs back, helped spark the Depression. So I share the market's concern in terms of, but we'll see what Trump really has in mind here. I know he used tariffs very effectively when Remain in Mexico wasn't working until Mexico started cooperating under the threat of tariffs. So again, I can't predict exactly how this comes up, but I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice of you to say now, Ron. You think the American people didn't deserve to know how you felt on this matter before they cast their vote for this very thing that you supported, you spineless, cowardly, soggy McMuffin of a man? Sorry, Mum, I don't mean to get angry, but there's nothing that riles me up quite like people from the Leopard Eats Face party suddenly describing how leopards eating faces isn't the best idea now.
Tariffs.
And here's the thing, all of this leadership through chaos BS is solely to give off this impression that Trump is the strongman leader, alienating our allies for the sake of his image when this very deal was reached diplomatically in the past, without the threats of economic turmoil that sent the markets into a tailspin and has our allies issuing such strong statements against the United States.
We must put Canada first. And that is why common sense conservatives condemn President Trump's massive, unjust, and unjustified tariffs, which will damage both American and Canadian economies. Canada is the United States' closest friend, greatest ally, and most important neighbor. We share the longest undefended border. We fought alongside the Americans in 2 world wars, Korea and Afghanistan, where we lost 158 of our brilliant young men and women to avenge the attacks of 9/11 on New York and Washington. There is no justification whatsoever for these tariffs or this treatment. Canada will never be the 51st state. We are an independent, proud, and strong nation.
We've just had news through that Ontario, which is the biggest province in Canada, has banned US firms from government contracts and quite significantly have dumped a deal that they had with Starlink. So this is Elon Musk's company, remember Starlink. They provide internet services in Ontario, and Canada's Ontario Premier Doug Ford has said he's going to ban American companies from provincial contracts, and this 100 million Canadian dollar deal that he had with Elon Musk's Starlink company to deliver high-speed internet access to remote residences. Think of how vast Canada is, so people need to get their internet and it's difficult to get it to them. So that Starlink providing those to northern and rural parts of Ontario is going to be dumped. We're hearing this on X as well. We'll be ripping up the province's contract with Starlink. Ontario won't do business with people hell-bent on destroying our economy. That from Ontario Premier Doug Ford.
And this is why I think this video from Trudeau is so important to highlight, to remind Americans of what is at stake and how a once trusted relationship lays in the balance because of one man.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.